This is the Lexus RX 450h, and while it's incredibly luxurious, it comes with a 3.5 litre V6 engine under the bonnet attached to a hybrid unit. It makes sense, believe it or not, and it's actually probably one of the most luxurious cars you can buy on the market today, right here in Ireland. I'm going to explain why. There are a couple of things I don't really like about the cars. Let's just have a little quick look outside first. So yeah, there is a couple of things we need to talk about when it comes to the exterior look of the car. Obviously it's a Japanese car, so Lexus tend to do cuts and lines and creases and very big grills. Forget about BMW's grill. Look at the size of that grill. Look, it's gigantic. Nobody's complaining about that. But I think it looks brilliant. It's something totally different on the road. So when I'm looking at the exterior of this vehicle, I really like these kind of jaggedy lights that are there. And the front grille. And then you have these spot lamps down the bottom on the edge here, and a little air intake, which I think are fake on both sides here, but it looks good on that side. You have nice big alloys that fill that sort of square wheel arch. Then alongside, before you come round to the petrol pump on this petrol door here, which in this country has just a push one, but in some other countries you see there's a button there to release the petrol cap. You have a big boot. It's really complicated to open this. Sometimes it opens, sometimes it doesn't. Here's our boot space. As you can see, it's large. It's a big boot. This one has a rubber cover inside it, which is optional. It is a Lexus branded one on the bottom here. I don't like this, that thing. That doesn't work at all. I mean, it's good for covering it up, but really it's just kind of messy in comparison to the rest of the thing. Shopping bag hooks are good though. You can lock all the car from the button up there. Looking at the back seat for a minute. So you got here tons of room. You got a good cover here. This is nice. Then you have the 2.1 amp charger down here and a vent. Bottle holders in the doors. The interior of the car itself has these beautifully heated and cooled seats, both of them. Nice leather steering wheel. One of the really good tricks is this. This is the area you normally put a bottle in, yeah? It extends, gets bigger. See that? You put a bigger bottle in there. It's good, isn't it? I mean, that's actually clever. That's actually something that's really clever. And you have the memory seats up here as well. And electric seats on the bottom. Such a light and airy cabin. It's gorgeous in here, you know. Gorgeous. So as I back off now, I'll show you a difference. I think that's a gorgeous machine. Right, that's it. Back to the drive. There seems to be a racing drone going on over there somewhere. All that said, the inside is where it's at in this car. And actually, in fairness, it looks remarkable on the outside too. It's the outside where you kind of, you know, I reckon 80% of happy ownership is actually looking at the outside of a car, wondering how good it looks to everybody else. And I think this one is a bit of a sleeper. I really like the outside. I really appreciate what they've done with this car in this way that they've done it as well. They've really sprinkled a nice bit of something on this car to make it a bit more unusual than the usual German crowd that's picked out there. How does it compare to a Mercedes or a BMW or an Audi of equivalent style? It's just as good. Okay, so that's the hybrid thing. If you take away the CVT box and the fact it's got a 3.5 litre petrol engine out there, if this was a diesel, I'd probably go, well, you know, the other cars are pretty good with their old diesel engines, but it isn't. This is a very efficient hybrid. Now, when I say very efficient, the best I've gotten on average is 9.7 litres per 100 kilometres, which is good from a 3.5 litre petrol. It wouldn't be good from a diesel. Now, I have no shortage of power, a little bit over 300 horsepower in this car. That's the two engines combined. I've got a little electric engine out the back there, giving me a four-wheel drive, which is automatic. It flicks in and out of four-wheel drive mode, all on its lonesome. It makes lovely burbly noises. Really does. It makes a really good noise. I've added a camera, by the way. It's this one here beside me. It's a 4K, so I'm trying to give you a sort of an over-the-shoulder what I see when I'm driving along vision of the world, which I hope works. I'm not sure it will, but I'm hoping it works. Listen. There's no other electric car in the market, hybrid car, diesel car, or anything else in this bracket that makes that kind of noise. Real noise. Now, there is a CVT box, so the maintaining of the revs up high kind of irritates very quickly. It doesn't take long before that becomes a problem. But as a cruiser, as something that you waft along the road in, it's very hard to see where Lexus have done anything wrong here. You really have to pick on things. You really have to work hard to find out what you don't like. Every so often I hit a bump and the back of the car bounces just a little bit too long. That's the extra weight. You have to remember that battery pack in the boot, and this is going to go on forever like this, but the battery pack in the boot weighs a lot, like it's another human being in the car near enough, you know. So what I want to go on about really is motorway driving in a car like this. I'm out here on the motorway right now doing just under 120. It has active cruise control, it has active lane keeping. Now the active lane keeping is a bit weird. It keeps you a little bit too far over to the left of the lane, right? So I'd like to drive kind of in the middle of the lane, like most people do. Some people like to drive a little bit to the right hand side over that white line. But if I let it steer, we're overtaking this truck, if I let it steer right now, so I'm going to take my hands, just put my hands either side of the steering wheel here, you see it steering. Right now it's kind of touching towards that center line the whole time, and that's a little bit aggravating when it does that. I prefer it to keep to the left of this one and to the right of that one. And I'd say it's because it was designed more or less for the US, you know, market, so it's the other side of the road. But actually Japan driving the same side of the road as us, so really it should be able to cope with it. But it is economical because it's got a big tank, but it's also economical because it's just a nice thing to drive. Now I'm going to get off here in Kildare town because I'm going to drive through the centre of town where this car could be at home. And this is the difference between having a big diesel, say mild hybrid, or just a straight up diesel yoke, and having a hybrid car to drive in the first place. Because right now I can drive into the centre of Kildare, and when I get there, I can be almost entirely on electricity. So I've already gone into, there it is, got into hybrid mode already. Still keeping up with traffic. It's very efficient in how it swaps back and forward between petrol and hybrid and petrol. Another remarkable fact is that touchscreen in the middle. It's very far away, but that's Apple CarPlay that's playing on it right now, which is done if you have to have a genuine Apple cable and you have to connect it into the center console here. There's two USB ports, and that runs the Apple CarPlay up front. If you plug it into the two ports that are here, they're just 2.1 amp charging ports, which are they're not fast. That's not fast. 5 amp is fast. 2.1 is kind of middle ground, so it'll charge up your phone and it'll stop charging. Now this car has a total of 6 standard USB ports. There's 2 in the back as well, and that's really good. Also included are heated and cooled seats with the most amazing auto function. You can turn them to auto. When you turn them to auto, once you set the climate control in here, it also controls the seats for you. It's amazing. You get in the morning and the seat comes straight on. It warms up, and as the day goes on, like right now, the cooler comes on. It blows cold air up your bum and on your back. It does. It's lovely. It's like having a cool hairdryer. You see, now I've driven most of the way through Kildare here on completely EV mode. Totally. Still going through it. Right through the centre of Kildare town. Traffic lights right here. Braking. EV mode still on. Accelerating along. I was born here, by the way. I'm entitled to be here. Now, look, fuel economy, okay, 9.7, 9.6 litres per 100 kilometres is probably not great. You could get better over time, but I can genuinely see why people buy a Lexus and then stick with Lexus for 10 or 15 years. Just stay in the group. And then when they buy another car, they buy another Lexus. I can see why. Because it just feels so well put together. Such a nice, big, comfy car to drive. I would genuinely think I'd buy this, but therein lies the problem. The purchase price of yon vehicle, which is absolutely outstandingly fantastic, but there's no, again, I find myself saying this a lot these days. You may prepare yourselves. It's 76,000 euros. How do you feel about that? Let me know in the comments down below how you feel about that. That's not extraordinary. For the car I'm in, for the amount of car I've got, 76 grand isn't that bad. I have a 3.5 litre petrol V6, 300 and something horsepower engine out there, and it hauls ass. Can't do it here in their town, I have to keep the speed limit, but it really does haul ass. But it's not the most expensive of this range. It's also not the cheapest. But what's the alternative to this? The alternative cars of this brand, really? Audi Q8 maybe? Mercedes probably have a couple of machines in there somewhere. It's very hard. There's not a lot to do what this does. It just does it all so well. That touchscreen is amazing up there as well. Even a Toyota or Lexus system in it, the normal system in it's actually pretty good as well. But this Apple CarPlay system is great because they're giving you the touchpad and the touchscreen, both. So like everything works, everything, even the voice control, the active cruise control works. You just press the button here, pull down once, bang, you got cruise control on. The car does everything else for you. So simple. There now, I've set 80 kilometers an hour and I'm going to reduce the distance to the car in front of me and we're just going to cruise, baby. That's the M7 over there. This is the N7 right beside it. Good enough. To sum this up, I think Lexus have created a fantastic machine. Realistically, it's kind of snobbery that we don't look at this one when we're looking at the range of luxury vehicles we can have out there today. We tend to hold the German brands very high when the Japanese boys are here going, well, this is a really good car. And it is a really good car. This is such a gorgeous machine to drive. Lexus is not a budget brand and never has been. They have always been the executive brand of the Toyota group. And we have the chance of owning something that is genuinely brilliant. And a 3.5 litre V6. I think I'd get the same fuel economy from a 3 litre diesel. But I wouldn't have the guilt trip of having a diesel. So as I pull into the edge of Newbridge, where I'm sure there'll be a speed van ready to shoot fish in the barrel again, hopefully you have learned all you need to know about the Lexi. What do you call multiple Lexuses? Lexuses or Lexi? Anyway, whatever it is. If you've learned everything you can, click on the like button. If you want to learn more, click on the subscribe button. Hopefully you will join me for the next video. But until the next time, I will see you on the far side. That was very green in the background, wasn't it, in the middle of that? It was.